Hey.
I'm not signing on this. All
right. Welcome back. I am your host at Marcus Flowers, a.k.a. Flo, a.k.a. Call Me What You Want, just don't call me lazy. And I am here with none other than...
I'm in this. Metro Meta, y'all know who it is. Metro Meta, he who shall not be named. Especially on certain podcasts that might be coming up on certain days. Yeah.
And before we really get into this, well, first let me introduce the podcast. This is the Super Flow Bros on the 26 and Glencoe Media Network. We are on episode, check it, what episode? But I think it is episode 28. So I think it's volume 3, episode 28.
For Dust Off or the Super Flow
Super Flow Bros?
I don't know. We
so
lost
we
count.
are on, I think it is episode 28 of the Super Flow Bros podcast.
I know we got a lot of podcast
people. I've already introduced myself. He has already introduced myself. And before we really get into things,
how have you been though, Marcus?
I've been good. I have been
Volume 3, episode 30.
Oh, wow, episode 30. Wow, we've been moving. But I've actually been pretty chill. I can't complain. Work has been well. Still really thankful to be working through a pandemic and having like salary and not have to be furloughed or basically fired. Because even like Kyle Clark, who's basically the face of 9 News now, he was furloughed for a week. So I'm just very thankful to not be furloughed or not, just very, very thankful to just still be employed throughout all this. I have some exciting things coming up in just my personal life in the next few months. So I've been prepping for that.
Are we going to get a new Super Flow Bros? I mean, a new Fantastic Flow?
Yeah, no, we will.
Because I've been noticing you haven't put that out in a while.
But, yeah, so everything has been chill. What about you?
I don't know. Just this whole event for me has just been exhausting. Just like dealing with everything and all that. But still looking for like jobs and stuff. So that's just what I'm at right now.
One thing I will ask, let's just get to the heart of it. Have you been seeing government conspiracies about the fireworks?
I'm tired of these freaking fireworks.
So
they need to stop.
So, have you been seeing the conspiracies about them?
No, I don't go on Facebook.
It actually was on Twitter.
I have self-respect.
But, so the conspiracy is... Actually, here, hold this. Let me pull this up real quick. Because it is a government... It is a spontaneous event. Oh, let me see.
What? They're trying to scare people?
Dang it, what is
just give me the gist.
Friendly. Okay, but anyway, it's like a government conspiracy. The government has ramped up fireworks this year because there's a race war coming, and if we get used to the loud bangs of fireworks, we won't be able to differentiate between fireworks and gunshots.
Nah.
How do you think about that?
I think that's pretty extreme and dumb. If there's a race war coming, we're just gonna see the race war.
So,
unless they're gonna like shadow take out all the black people.
So
in which case we'd still see it.
Very true. But I will say, I don't think it is a race war, and I actually don't mind the fireworks. I actually like them.
I don't. I definitely do think it's a lot of people who are trying to express their patriotism in a more aggressive way.
Right. And I will say, because there have been reports in like New York's have, like the police officers have been leaving unused fireworks everywhere. But I will say I don't mind the fireworks. I like them, but I didn't realize, just noticing how some of my friends who have been in the military, and they're just like, yo, these fireworks are giving me PTSD, and just remain considerate of them. You know, but I just didn't realize it until this year. One of my friends was like, yo, these fireworks are giving me PTSD. I just was like, oh wow, I never really thought of that in that way. So, but yeah, nope. But this is Super Flow Bros. First up, of course, we're not doing. We broke away from our standard procedures, such as the front porch and all that. But we're just gonna get into it. One of the things that's been really inspiring over these past 3 months has been comedy. Everything from just like going back and watching like Aziz Ansari. I know Jerrod Carmichael.
You roasted Aziz last time.
I did, but
that's our second most watched video.
But he is still one of my favorite comics, and I made sure to watch it before the allegations come out. If that makes it any better. But so one thing, comedy is really all we need in this environment right now. I don't know, did you get the chance to see 829 or 849 by Dave Chapelle?
I saw it, and I like Dave Chapelle. He's one of my favorite comics right after John Mulaney. For me, it was just, at this point, I'm just exhausted. And like, I know like the idea is like, oh, comedy will lift your spirits, but for me, I don't see that. I don't see like comedy's about like discussing a line and trying to like find a middle ground. And at this point, like, we can't like laugh our way out of a pandemic.
So I don't necessarily think Dave Chapelle was trying to laugh us out of a pandemic. He wasn't trying to distract us. If you guys are unfamiliar, Dave Chapelle dropped a Netflix special on YouTube called look it up. It's called 829 or 849. Can you look that up real quick?
Let me see. Keep talking.
It's called 829 or 849, and it basically was the amount of time the officer spent on George Floyd's neck. And to me, it wasn't comedy as more 846. To me, it wasn't comedy as much as it was just art. And what we were witnessing, and of course we're in the middle of a pandemic, so it was like raw and unfiltered, and we saw people social distancing and wearing masks. And what Dave did, he really elevated the genre. I want to say with this Netflix special, he really elevated the genre of comedy to saying, hey, even though we're celebrities and people probably don't want to hear our voice, we're here to elevate the common man and make sure that their voices are heard throughout all this pandemic, and still relating to the common man and making sure that they aren't alone in this pandemic when it comes to just COVID and police brutality, and that they are not alone.
For me, what I've been finding interesting is, like, from the beginning of this pandemic, when the celebrities came out with that Imagine Me, you remember that? Mm-hmm. Like a year ago at this point, and people were just like, no, we're done with it. We're done with the celebrity. We're done with listening to TMZ talk about trash for like 24 hours a day. And that to me has been like a real shift in, like, I think culture as a whole, as people have just stopped caring about your celebrity. And unless you have something important to say or important happening to you, people are just like, no, you're not important anymore.
And I think this is the pendulum swing that we are experiencing right now, just because we have gone, just society in general has gone so far into celebrity culture where everybody wants to be a celebrity, everybody wants to be known, everybody wants a platform. But with social media, one of the things that is done is giving everybody a platform. It's giving everybody a voice. People who necessarily won't have a voice are speaking up or saying their piece. Like people, like for example, even 10 years ago, 2010, people in Alaska didn't necessarily have a voice, but now their voice is on equal playing field with people from Los Angeles, people from New York, people from Mulan, people from Hong Kong. And so we're seeing that, and as we see how, and as we have basically watched these people and seen them grow and seen them make mistakes, we're seeing that not everybody has it together, and that we necessarily should not be putting our trust into celebrities because they don't have it together either.
I think one of the things that I think about, especially for just when I think about the music in general, there's a music reviewer by the name of Todd in the Shadows, and he talked about how in the past, pop singers just felt like Olympians. They felt like Olympic gods, like standing above everybody else, just dropping their next mixtape. And in the past few years, it just seems like they like lost all their power. Emperor has no clothes anymore, and it just seems like people just get their chance to just wake up in the morning and be like, let's make sure Taylor Swift has a bad day just because I don't feel like I like you anymore. And for me, I feel like that shift in just how celebrities are seen and how they are treated is something that's catching up to a lot of them, especially the ones that just don't carry themselves in the correct way.
Or not even carry themselves in the correct way, or speak about something that they are unfamiliar with, or they don't have the most knowledge about.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that. Next up is Yvonne Orji, who is Molly on Insecure. Congratulations to Lawrence for becoming a father. That's a great milestone if you've watched Insecure. So I'm still Lawrence Hive. We'll see what happens. But yeah, she dropped a special. I know we're kind of late on it. It's called Mama I Made It. I really love that title, and it's her just talking about her being of Nigerian descent and her expectations from her family and life and how it pertains to just to her life now. But what comics have you been watching and just like listening to during this pandemic?
Actually, none. I think I sat down and watched an episode of Big Bang Theory a week ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at in my life right now.
Okay. All right. All right. If there's one comic who I really want to hear from, I may be kind of biased because he is my favorite comic, but Jerrod Carmichael, he does great commentary when it comes to just social issues. If you watch the Carmichael Show, if you watch any of his specials, they've all been excellent. So I really want to hear what he has been cooking up and how some of his commentary on these things, and even like a while back when George Floyd first happened. He said, I was watching one of his specials, and he said something that really resonated with me, and I just put it on Twitter, and everybody was like, yeah, no, for sure, I agree with that. And lastly, I don't know if you saw this, Morgan, but I was on Twitter on Saturday or Friday night. No, it was Friday. All the nights are blended together, but it was Friday night, and D.L. Hughley,
I saw that he fainted. That's sad.
D.L. Hughley passed out. And actually,
hopefully, is he okay? Do we know anything about that yet?
Well, so it says D.L. Hughley passed out during his stand-up show at Zany's Nashville tonight. Prayers up for him. And if you saw him pass out, like it was like I shouldn't be laughing at this.
Don't laugh at it.
But the way he fell out, it was like a bobblehead. The way his body dropped, and then his head like shook as well. And I said in a tweet, "Pandemic not over. This is proof. Period. Stay inside unless absolutely necessary to come out." D.L. Hughley is 57 years old in a room full of people who aren't wearing masks or social distancing. This makes me extremely upset that people can't follow the rules. And you would have thought I said something ridiculous. The way people were coming at me and saying, "Oh, everything's not related to COVID. You're blaming everything on COVID. Trump's America." And it was crazy because I just muted the tweet and was like, whatever, I'm going with my day. And somebody actually added me and was like, D.L. Hughley suffered from COVID. He has diabetes and he caught COVID. And so those same trolls who were saying that to me, I just responded like, yo, this happened, he has it. And it's like people aren't taking this virus as seriously as they need to be, because I don't know if you know this, but we're still in a pandemic. And
stay inside 2020. I've been telling my entire family, you need to be in your freshman year of high school Morgan bag. You staying inside. Don't talk to people. Your friends can call you. Stay inside. There's no point to go outside. Just stay inside.
And people aren't taking it serious. And as states start to relax their restrictions, we're seeing more cases. Like Colorado had an increase.
You see,
Colorado, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina,
Texas,
California. So as states start to lax up on their restrictions, we're seeing more cases, and it's very troubling just because people are just like, I actually thought that we were smarter than this, that we would be able to beat this with common sense, just because it may have to take 3 to 6 months to beat the virus. But what I'm seeing now is like, okay, cases are going back up, deaths are slightly going back up, but so that means states are going to close down again, and we're gonna get another shutdown. And it's just like, maybe if we just would have stayed inside, if we just would have followed the proper rules for about 4 to 5 months, we could have beat it. But also, it's on part of the government, because while we were inside, social distancing, wearing masks, they should have been proactive in not just saying, hey, follow the rules. They should have been out there trying to prevent, trying to get proper cleaning solutions, I don't want to say work on the vaccine, because vaccines take years, but proper cleaning solutions, proper protocols that we can follow so that it is actually safe to come outside. And that's one thing that I've noticed that everybody has felt out, everywhere from the NBA to the MLB. With the MLB, they're starting to open. We're going to talk about it more later. They had to shut down 2 spring training camps because players were coming up with COVID, and even like NFL players are caught it. And it's just like, when you're rushing to get back because of the money, when money is your main focus, then human lives are going to be lost. And that's really the message that has been sent to every American, and I hope that they have noticed that this is a clear message that has been sent.
Yeah, definitely stay inside. Just stay inside.
Next up, Joe Rogan. So do you know the Joe Rogan controversy?
About what? About like what was going on with him and his friends, like laughing about sexual abuse, from what I remember.
Yes, they were laughing about, I think it was sexual abuse.
That doesn't surprise me in the least bit about Joe Rogan, though.
So the thing about Joe Rogan, he's unapologetically himself. He's always been that way. That's how he's got gigs, and he just got a massive Spotify deal. But yeah, it's just very, I don't want to say disappointing, because he has worked hard to get to where he's at in life, but I will say it's very discouraging to see, okay, if a person can get away with saying all these reckless things and still be on top, where's the accountability at?
Well, see, the accountability is with the audience. With the audience he's made is an audience that finds stuff like that funny, which is why, like, canceling him on social media isn't something that's going to happen. For me, like, Joe Rogan, like, I've listened to his podcast a few times. From what I've listened of his podcast, he seems like somebody who sounds smart by asking questions, even if they don't need to be asked. And that, to me, it seems like a dumb person's ideal of a smart person's show. Which, honestly, it's a mean way of saying it, but it's kind of what happens. And that's not to say I'm intelligent, but it's to say that the way his show is formatted and the way they question things, they're questioning it for the sake of questioning it. And the things that they should be questioning are things that they just don't question. Like, ideals of like, oh yeah, we're alpha males. That was the end of the conversation. It's like, yeah, we're alpha males. He's a beta male. And now we're going to question all of his stances. And I was like, well, what makes you think you're an alpha male? Because you're big? That's it? That's the end of it? I'm big, I'm broad, I'm the alpha male? Well, what is the alpha male? How do you specify that? Let's break that conversation down before you go, oh, he's small and tiny, now we get to poke fun of whatever he was saying.
Right. And I don't know if people were searching for this, because his commentary isn't that hard to find. He said a bunch of very ridiculous things. He called black people apes, basically. So it's not surprising to see this. But next up, so Morgan, how many NASCAR races have you watched in your entire lifetime?
None.
Have you ever been to a racing track?
No.
Even like when you were down south, did you ever go visit one?
No.
So yeah, NASCAR is like super big. Of course, they So it's been a crazy situation with NASCAR. First off, we at 26 and Glencoe stand with Bubba Wallace. Protect that man at all costs. So Bubba Wallace, who is a NASCAR racer, could you look up his information real quick for me?
All right.
But Bubba Wallace, who is a NASCAR racer, came out and said Black Lives Matter. What's his information?
I don't know how to read any of this, Marcus.
Bubba Wallace is an American stock car race driver. He competes full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series, driving a 43 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 1LE for Rayshard Petty Motorsports. Was that hard? No. No.
I was looking at... I thought you wanted the stats,
just
man.
That. No, I didn't want the stats. So yeah, he is a black man. But he said, yo, Black Lives Matter. And then NASCAR said, yo, enough with we don't want to be tied to racism anymore. We're banning all Confederate flags. However, when at their race the other night, people were outside the stadium waving their Confederate flags. And Bubba Wallace found a noose in his garage. And do you know what a noose is? I'm asking you. For our viewing audience, or our listening audience.
Our listening audience, yes, I know what a noose is.
Okay. So he found a noose in his garage, and the really sad thing about that is to get access to the garage, you have to have credentials, which means that somebody who works for NASCAR put the noose in there, and that just goes to show how deep-seated racism is, not only in the country, but how it's ingrained itself when it comes to corporations.
Well, for me, when you think about it, NASCAR it was never seen as the most liberal left-right organization. I mean, you can see in the fact that he's the only black racer right now, I think.
Right.
And at the end of the day, when you're looking at this situation, it's like NASCAR is making a concerted effort to move themselves forward in a more progressive demographic, as opposed to just leaning into what they're used to, which is definitely going to hurt their bottom line at the end. And so what I'm thinking is there is something that we aren't seeing. There's got to be like somebody somewhere, because just over the course of this week, we've seen so many changes when it comes to racial changes. Somebody somewhere calculated the math and said, we're done with this. We're done just idly standing by, and it's about time that we take a few steps forward. And I don't know if it's everybody was locked in a pandemic for a year and now we're outside and we're like, oh, okay. Or if somebody saw the fires in the riots and was just like, pin us down for the black community because they obviously are now about it. But it is nice to see these changes. It would be nice if these changes kept going as the time goes. And again, these are just new avenues that these people are opening up just for more people and more progress and more competitiveness. And I'm just excited to see sort of what happens next for me. Yeah,
no, I think the moment we're in right now, we're seeing really a I don't quite know what to call it, just a generational moment when it comes to just sports in general, just because next up, Cap was right. And I think Colin Kaepernick was the catalyst of all this. He was the starter of it all. And we're seeing how when you take a stand for something that people won't necessarily agree with, you have to be willing to sacrifice everything to make sure that you're willing to stand on your ground and show that you stick to your morals and that they cannot be compromised.
Yeah, I think the one thing that just showed me about this whole situation was there's this man named Tavion Land. He's a football player. He was playing on Liberty University. And necessarily, if you know anything about me, no sports comes into my timeline under any circumstance. I don't get sports news. I don't even know who Tavion is or even if he's a good player. But what spoke out to me was the fact that he put out a letter saying he was leaving Liberty University because he saw it as an organization that wasn't backing him as an African American player. And that to me spoke volumes, because the amount of hurdles that message would have had to go through and the amount of people would have to agree to it for it to end up on my timeline, in which nobody who plays basketball or football is ever on my timeline, even when they're doing something good. LeBron James could do a triple flip into a dunk, and it'd probably take 3 days to get to my timeline. And for his message of this college student to say, hey, I'm leaving because this organization, I feel, isn't backing the Black Lives Matter movement the same way I want to, I think it sends a stark message, not just to colleges and universities, but for sports organizations all around the world, that says, hey, if you're not backing African Americans, now they're just going to leave. And that is not going to be something that's going to be overall good for anybody's bottom line if African Americans just start leaving. Like, if you're next in line to get like Zion on your basketball team and you don't back Black Lives Matter and he goes somewhere else, you're going to start changing your tune.
Right. And it's just like not only you mentioned the young man from Liberty University, and just to give some backstory of Liberty, that their president is a super Trump supporter. They support Trump. I think he was supposed to speak at I think he spoke at their commencement one year. So yeah. This is just a culmination of things. And just like Morgan said, just like the power is slowly coming back to the players. The one thing that also needs to change is the capital. So players can have a voice and speak their mind. But when the money's still in the owner's pockets, it's like, okay. And that's why when Kyrie Irving, who basically has been painted out to be a villain in this whole thing, just because he says, hey, we see what happens when sports are happening. Police are still killing people. There's protests. We don't need sports as a distraction. And then he even went on to say, yo, we should start our own league. And it's just like a movement that we've always preached at 26 and Glencoe. Always have ownership. Always have your own power. Never depend on somebody else to give you power, just because they're not going to give you what you feel like you deserve. If you get like, I'm not saying anything, but let's say you get this big contract or this big deal from a company, and they say this is how much you're worth. And it's like, okay, but how much are you really worth? Like, for example, so the value from the Warriors in 10 years went from like 3.9, went from 30 million to like 2.5 billion in 10 years. And that was thanks to Steph Curry. That was thanks to Draymond Green. That was thanks to Klay Thompson, Iguodala. And it's like those players weren't properly compensated for the work that they put in. Yes, they got big contracts. Yes, they were able to get endorsements to start their own businesses, to start their own financial success stories. But it's like they should have been paid way more than what they were originally promised, just because they brought more of a value for for the organization. And the thing is, one of my favorite writers ever, Julian Mitchell, his saying is, get paid to be yourself. And when you're being yourself, you know your worth. And that's where I really think we're heading, is that players, these athletes from all levels, from like, did you even hear about the high school in Iowa that kneeled during a baseball game?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they kneel. And it's just like everywhere from high school to the professional sports, we're seeing people really reclaiming their power and saying, hey, the time is now for change.
Definitely. This is also pretty interesting just because it's happening in the sports area.
Right.
Which is a hot spot for people who do carry just anti-black ideals and might not be willing to back Black Lives Matter. So, because you've seen a lot of Republicans who are just like, we just want to enjoy the sport. And for African Americans who populate these sports, who put their lives on the line for our entertainment, for them to say, if I'm going to play this sport for you, you're going to have to start caring about my brothers and sisters outside of the game and inside the game. I think it's definitely going to draw a line for a lot of people where they're like, well, I guess I just have to do this now.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, 2 WNBA players from the reigning champion Washington Mystics, Natasha Cloud and LaToya Sanders, are to skip the NBA season. And Cloud says she wants to focus on social justice issues, much like Atlanta guard Renee Montgomery said last week when she announced that she would not play. And that's very interesting because former WNBA player Maya Moore did the same thing, and she just changed her whole career to focus on social justice and giving more power to not underappreciated, not undervalued, or underserved Black Americans in the criminal justice system. And so Cloud has been in the NBA for 5 years, so this isn't surprising. Sanders, she says this was not an easy choice to make, but after much thought, she believes that this is the best way for her health and family. So her sentiments are more towards like coronavirus and COVID and making sure that her and her family are safe, and basically not trying to infest the world with, not trying to spread any more of the virus.
I'm reading something. Keep going.
So yes, we're in the middle of a podcast.
So
next, no, what's important? What's important? We're on a podcast. What's important?
I don't want to put it out there in case it's not real.
No, put it out there.
All right, so I found this. He's from Colorado too. I found this tweet from this guy Ben Kurtz. I don't know him. It's just writer is what it says. This was Elijah McClain. He wore a mask due to his anemia and Colorado weather. Someone called 911 on him. The police held him down, beat him, and injected him with ketamine.
Oh, I heard about that.
He went into cardiac arrest and died. Elijah liked to play his violin for stray cats to calm them.
Yeah, no, that is true. I didn't want to talk about that too much, but yeah, no, that's just that's super sad, and there's been justice for Elijah. People are really on the DA Beth McCann's head because she decided not to press charges against the officers who essentially killed the young man. And it's just like he's from Aurora and we're from Denver. And if you know Aurora and Denver, they're like 15, not even that, they're like literally 5 minutes apart from each other. And it's just like super sad that something like this happens to us every day, and how it doesn't look like it's gonna stop. And even last week, I was talking to a family member, and they said, "Yo, don't go out at night by yourself." And it's like, fam, this was like the 50s and the 40s all over again. Like, not being able to go outside at night by yourself, like that sounds crazy, but that's sadly the world that Black people are in right now. You have to go into basically everywhere get all your running in before the sun goes down, because you don't know what happens when the sun goes down and the lights are out.
Yeah. Let me call Aurora Police Department murderers one time for the timeline. Moving on, let's go to, but not like that. Oh man, that's just Robert E. Lee. Let's go to Robert E. Lee.
So, have you seen the I did a story about this today. So Robert E. Lee High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they had a school board meeting. The Lee High had a school board meeting, and community activist Gary Chambers Jr. talked about racism, and he talked to one of the council members who defended naming Robert E. defended the naming of Robert E. Lee High School. And he said, "You don't care, you're basically racist, because as I'm trying to explain to you why Robert E. Lee was a bad person, you're online shopping." And she literally, and it's crazy because as he was talking, there's a video behind her, and she literally was online shopping. And when he said that, she got up and walked out, and he said, "Okay, if you walk out, you're racist." And she just walked out, and she has a history of being very aggressive. She even choked a guy out before. So yeah, but just real quick, Robert E. Lee, a terrible man, terrible person. The Confederacy, terrible people. The Confederacy literally only lasted 5 years.
Like, you know what's crazy?
I don't quite get.
Matter of fact, let's make something happy. Let's name things that lasted longer than the Confederacy.
LeBron James's career.
Pokemon.
Netflix.
Twilight.
Blockbuster. Hollywood Video.
Gosh.
Rainforest Cafe in Denver.
Divergent series, definitely.
The NBA.
The Hunger Games.
Yeah, we could go on and on.
Harry Potter.
And, whoa. We don't speak about Harry Potter because that
all right.
is a transphobe.
The Rick Riordan verse was longer than 5 years.
Yes.
That actually is still going on.
So
I still need to read.
But yeah, it is kind of weird. Like, I get it, racism, white supremacy. I get why people want to have their strong ties to it. But my whole thing is, why would you want to be claiming that you're related to losers? I don't like. That's the wild thing to me. A person like myself, if my let's just say me, a black person, if my it wouldn't be my grandfather. If my great grandfather was in the Civil War in the Confederacy, why would I was like, yo, that was my great grandfather. He lost. I would not want to be associated with losers. That's my biggest thing. Why would you want to say, yeah, like when Mitch McConnell said, yeah, let's not change things. I'm a descendant of the Confederacy. And it's like, fam, what?
But see,
the Confederacy is losing.
But see, here's the thing. Did they really lose if they're still being talked about right now? If they're still moving and changing policies?
Yes, they lost.
They lost the war, but they're still here. No,
they lost the war. Yes, they are losers. They did not win. Like, let's make this clear.
They also
the Confederacy lost the Civil War. They're losers. They will always be losers.
They also backstabbed America. I'm just saying.
So no, they are not winners. They are not winners, and even in our history books, they're not winners. So, but we kind of jumped around. We're back to sports real quick. The MLB is back. The MLB is back, but at what cost? We talked earlier about some of the I think it's the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. 2 of their training camps in Florida got canceled because players had COVID-19, and now they're going to vote for the season for training to start on the 1st of July. So we'll see what happens with that, but just be sure just to be cautious, making sure everybody stays safe and everything. Next up, this was something I was really excited about. LeBron James started More Than a Vote, which is getting people who don't follow politics like that to vote. He got reigning NFL Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes on as well. So basically, the 2 biggest players in the 2 biggest sports in the United States have come together and say, "Yo, this is an initiative that we're running to make sure that your voice gets heard through democracy, through the political system, and it is used to work in a way that your voice is amplified." So, how do you feel about superstars trying to advocate for people to vote and get their voices heard?
I think at this point it's anything to get people to vote. Because the problem we're having with voting is that they restrict it so much because they know that if a lot of people come out, there's a good chance they might lose. And so if Taylor Swift got to sing a 5-hour album to get a few extra 100 people to go out and vote, I don't care.
Yeah, so I think it's really good that we're seeing this. I've never seen this to this extreme. This coordinated back when it was 2008 when Diddy had that vote or die, it was a campaign, but it wasn't as organized as what I'm seeing right now.
For me, the question and the thing I really am always upset when it comes up to this voting thing is the Republicans try to suppress the vote as much and they try to make as little people vote as possible. My question to them is always, why do you want to hear from less people?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Why do you want to hear from less people? And they might say, oh, well, they're not Americans. Well, they're still here.
And even in the state of Kentucky, when they have drastically reduced the number of voting places from 3,700 to 200, that's insane. That's
from what I see, like a lot of Republican voters are elderly. We're in the middle of a pandemic. It would be a benefit to that group of people to have things like mail-in ballots. Like, that's something that's helping your base, and they're actively saying, no, risk your life, go stand in line for an hour, because that's better for us. And honestly, I don't know if your state has mail-in ballots. As a state like Colorado that has mail-in ballots, it's amazing. It's my favorite. You get to vote at home. You have your computer right in front of you. You can see the people. You can research them before you even go into the polls. Like, I never experienced like voting in the polls because when I was in high school, we already had mail-in ballots. I don't want to go back. I really don't. It's easy. It's convenient. I get it done whenever I want to get it done. I'm making sure I know who I'm voting for, not sitting in a booth being like, I don't know which one of these is a better candidate, so I'm going to skip this. I just, honestly, if you don't know about mail-in ballots, I'm not even saying like online ballots, just mail-in ballots in general, do your research. I guarantee you're just going to be like, why don't I already have this? And I don't even like answering the mail.
So, mail-in ballots needs to be a thing everywhere. But yeah, next up, quickly, we have two sober notes to end on. So, rest in peace to Rayshard Brooks. Not much more to be said. We just want to send our condolences out to his family and to just black people to just keep fighting. We're all in this together. And next, black men are being hung, or hanged or hung, and that's is very. I don't know quite how to feel about this because, like, being hung never really stopped. Like, people were being hung in like the 80s, 70s, 90s, 2000s, but like now to see these many hangings back to back to back, it's just crazy. So once again, I'll say to everybody listening, just be safe. Be careful because we don't know what's out there. You don't know anybody's intentions. But yeah, I think that's about it. Morgan, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm just exhausted.
Okay, so once again, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Flow My Hero. Follow Meta on all platforms at MetroMeta26. Follow the brand everywhere at 26 and Glencoe Media Network. And until next time, peace.
Peace. Alright, everybody. Y'all know who it is, Metro Meta and
At One Marcus Flowers.
And we'd like to thank you for watching and listening to our content. We'd like to thank you even more if you leave a like, a comment.
Subscribe. Definitely subscribe. We need that. Subscription.
Hey, don't forget to share with all your friends and tell us how you feel.
And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you got it from 26 and Glencoe Media Network.
Keep it real.